Yes, guys, welcome back to SFeatleyTV. We're here for another episode of episode 4, F1's Perfect Formula, and this time we're talking about the first ever car to have a ground effect, something that you're going to be seeing a lot next season because New Year's cars are using ground effect as well, in order to achieve also some sort of downforce levels that they get now. I'm going to explain why it was also maybe classed as dangerous as well, not just because like it was easy to break, actually because it's got something to do with ground effect. But we'll move. Let's have a look. Please do hit the like button, do hit the share button, do hit the subscribe button. Don't forget you can donate in 2 ways to Children's Liberties Foundation, either via the Just Giving page link down below, or with a comment via super chat. Either way, but yeah, please do hit that like button, subscribe button. And here we go. So, the Lotus 79 was the first car to have fully advantage of ground effect aerodynamics, pioneered in its predecessor, the 78. So, it made it more sophisticated, let's put it that way. It was built by Colin Chapman, who was at the time the head of Lotus and brought Lotus into the sport. And his pioneering level was just unreal. He was the first one to sort of take things to beyond its limits and then take it further still. I mean, the reason we have restrictions now on what certain teams can do is because people some engineers will take it too far. So yeah, do hit that like button and subscribe button. High cornering speeds were dangerous. Chris, I forgot to send you a link, didn't I? Just hang on a minute. Right. Sorry. There you go. Chris, I sent you the link as well if you want to come on and talk about it. Sakai Forbes. No, I haven't seen the chat before. If I haven't, I must not remembered. But I think you might have been because you see some of my content. Yo, good afternoon, broski. Love your content. Tuned in. Big up to you. Big up to you. So, thank you. It means a lot. So we're gonna move on to the Lotus 79, and first of all, I'm gonna show you some pictures of the car, right, in the black and gold of John Player Special. So we quickly share the screen. So here you go. You can see what the car looks like in that black and gold John Player Special. My advert, my dad nicknamed it like Bionic Fab Packet, but that's just me and my dad. But yeah. But first, before we go into the car itself and what it can do, we're gonna go into ground effect. I need to keep brush myself up on. I know a bit of it. I don't know the full extent, so I'm not going to explain about it. Knowing the full extent. Great ground effect. F1. Again, it's F1 creating these sort of things. In car design, ground effect is a series of effects which have been exploited in automotive aerodynamics to create downforce, particularly in racing cars. This has been a successor to the early dominant aerodynamics focus on streamlining. American Indy cars employ ground effects in the engineering and designs. Similarly, they also employed in other racing series to some extent. However, Formula One cars and many other racing series from across Europe employ regulations or complete bans to limit its effectiveness on safety grounds. So the theory basically is in the car designs aims for increased downforce and grip to achieve high cornering speeds. A substantial amount of downforce is available by understanding the ground to be part of the aerodynamic system in question, hence the nickname ground effect. This has started in the 1960s with wings. Starting in the mid 1960s, obviously, like we had that first sort of aerodynamics or the first concept of aerodynamics. Because don't forget, only about 10 years before, they didn't use aerodynamics at all. It was all about mechanical grip. So, Monday, if you're free, I can send you a link if you're free, mate. I didn't recognize you under that. I didn't recognize you under that, man. So, big up. Classic car that John Player Special, man. John Player Special until he went to Camel sponsors in the yellow. But yeah, I remember Senna when he won his Mario Andretti. This is the car that Mario Andretti would have driven, but not in. He did win the title in this one. He won the title in '78, which is like the first sort of concept of it. So yeah, wings were routinely used in car designs and race cars to increase downforce on. Designers shifted their efforts at understanding airflow around the perimeter. Like what we see now in F1, you see barge boards, you see skirts, right? All these things to keep, like, to direct the airflow around the car and control the airflow. Because this is what all the cars, this is what all F1 designers do. They are all there, and everything on the car is also trying to help direct and control the airflow to produce what it wants the car to produce, which is all the downforce it needs. So that's what a main designer's aim is, because the more control they have over that air and how they control the air going through the car, the more they'll be able to get downforce and better cornering speeds from the car itself. So it's all about having, basically aerodynamics is a way of trying to control the airflow. So yeah, starting in the mid so designers shift their efforts to understanding the airflow and perimeter, like body skirts and the underside of the vehicle, to increase downforce, less drag than compared to using a wing. So the kind of ground effect is easily illustrated by taking a tarpaulin out on a windy day and holding it close to the ground. It can be observed that when close enough to the ground, the tarp will be drawn towards the ground. This is due to Bernoulli's principle. As trapped air gets closer into the ground, the cross-sectional area available for the air passing between it and the ground shrinks, causing the air to accelerate. So basically, what it means is it's like when you've got something low to the floor. When you've got something low to the floor and you put something low on the floor, the lower you make it towards the ground, the faster the airflow will travel through the underside of that car. So with an F1 car, they were all designed to run as low as to the floor. And this is not just fucking hell. Sorry. I'm just gonna go off camera just for a sec. I think it's gonna be blurry on the camera. I don't know why. It's just done that all of a sudden. So I'm just going to give me a second. I'll be able to put my badge back on then. Matt, you can come on. Anyone can come on. I should have put the link in the chat actually. Zaba, there you go. That's better. That's better. Sorry about that, guys. Don't know why I would. Started to do it on myself. I don't know why. I'll put the link in the chat. So if anyone wants to come on, they can do. Like I said, there's two ways of donating as usual. There's donating via super chat, which is brilliant. A way to do it, and it would be much appreciated. Or you could do it directly to the charity, which is probably even the best way because then every single penny goes to it. And this link is in the description below. So, yeah. So, so this causes the air to accelerate, and the result of the pressure under the top drops while the pressure on top is unaffected, and together this results is in net downward force. So the same principle applies to the car. So basically, that pressure then obviously drags the car to the floor to make it stick. So it becomes more like downforce, and that's basically the basic concept of it. Right. Don't forget, we are live at 4:15 for the FA Cup final. It is going to be like we're going to come on. We're going to have a review of the FA Cup this season. Go through it. Go through the teams. What's been great about them this season? What's not? So make sure you tune into that. Do hit the share. Go and share the link. It's one of my upcoming streams. Go and try and find it and share the link to it. That'll be much appreciated. And join in because we are going to have such a fun such a fun game to watch. So yeah, that's grand affair. Let's give it a that. Let's go back to 79. So 79, the 79 was supposed to be like a refined way of doing it, but Ferrari already done it with their car in 1979. There was last time Ferrari had won a championship until Michael Schumacher won his in 2000, the Drivers' Championship. So Belgium is older. Anyway, so the Lotus 79 was the first F1 car to take advantage of these ground effects, pioneered by its predecessor in 78. The car under pressure problems in 78 were resolved in 79, and further designed on the Venturi tunnels under the car, right, which allowed the low pressure to be evenly spaced along the wheel, along the whole of the underside of the car, so it's all balanced nicely. Drivers who have driven this car include really good drivers actually. Mario Andretti, who's the last American F1 world champion, which is quite surprising. It's like, especially down south with how they love their racing. Ronnie Peterson, who was going to be a world champion, but unfortunately a major accident caused an aneurysm a day later, so he passed away. Carlos Reutemann, and Hector Rabicu. I don't know how to spell it. Can we have a knockout round in Formula One, please? The FA Cup of racing, huh? Verstappen, Hamilton. Come on, let's be having you. Yeah, well, they're doing sprint qualifying first. They're trying out sprint qualifying to see if it works. I'm just more of a traditionalist. I think it should just stay as it is. But okay. Oh, the 79 was in the 78 season. What? No, the 79 then. Fuck it. That's confused me. 79 was also unbeatable in 70 and the 78 season, providing an unprecedented level of domination. So it just walked everyone. See, yeah, you can see, look, it's just walked everyone quite easily. Let me have a look. Where is it about danger? So I'm just going to find out about a danger part of this. Because there was a danger part, which is why they banned ground effect, and this is why it... So yeah, ground effect was another innovation of the great Colin Chapman. Colin Chapman, for people that don't know F1, right, that, and also people that try and talk about F1 but actually don't know what they're talking about, we try and do it on this chat on YouTube and then actually don't have a clue what they're talking about quite clearly. Connie Chapman was a team principal at Lotus. He was responsible for many innovations. The first drive at Team Boss to build a car that had the chassis built to the specification of the build an engine to the size of the chassis, so it all fitted together as an integrated unit, which made the car stronger and lighter. So that's one innovation. Cooper was responsible for moving it from the front engine from the front to the back in 1960 or 1960. Then it was wings. Everyone was trying out wings to start with, massive wings, really high stunt poles and everything like that. And it wasn't until we brought the 72 into play that they refined the aerodynamics and made it look more modern, like, as well. So it went into so he did that and refined aerodynamics. Then obviously this came along, which is ground effect, and ground effect was a major step forward, but it came with its dangers. And it was born out of an idea of making the car a giant wing car, and it function as one giant wing to increase downforce. It was one of the first developments to be discovered using a wind tunnel. The team observed that when the outer edges of the car side pods reached the floor, it generated a massive increase in downforce. It created low pressure underneath, sucking it to the ground. Applying that theoretical observation to the track proved difficult. 78, aka the John Player Mark III of 77, was the first car to attempt it and did boast substantially better grip than its predecessor, but poor reliability within the team's season. In 78, though, with a modified version of the 78 in its stride when it brought the 79 out for its first race at Zolder, the sixth round of the season, Mario Andretti and Ronnie Peterson destroyed the opposition, finishing. This is the thing. Back in them days as well, they had such loose rules. Unlike now, you build the cars literally to that specification of the formula. That this is why we call it F1's perfect formula, because you're building the car around this formula of regulations, and that's what they've done so far, and what we've done so far every season. It's only they've done it, build a new car now since about 2004 onwards. No, 2005 onwards, right? Because before then, I remember Ferrari would sometimes use last year's car to race because the rules would be that different. Now it's like the rules are different every year, so he can't use the same car every year. Plus, the development race is so much more high. They develop the cars so much compared back in days. So a focus on tying up the aerodynamics of the car made the 79 leap forward its predecessor in every other car in the field. The rear bodywork was also enveloping, and the front and rear suspension was brought within to keep the airflow as smooth as possible. Basically, Chapman used every trick in the book to keep this car as neat as possible. Right, lobbying for changes in the rules, right, allowed the car to have a single fuel tank. That's allowed them to move the cockpit forward, set the fuel tank between the driver and the engine, and tidy the rear of the car accordingly. Right, so yeah, this I'm going to explain why they now banned it. The team also lost the plot on the design. Once they found one thing, but this is the problem with Chapman. When he found something and took it to its limits and he found it worked, he then would take it beyond those limits. He would push so much until the car physically broke. When the car physically broke, he would still go even further. He has seen, there's many times where he's had a car like the Lotus 38, for example, before the 49, where they all had the same engine. So the best way to do it back in them days was make it lighter. So they all made it lighter and lighter and lighter. He would make it so light that it would be really, really hard not to break the thing. And once he did that, he'd still go even further than that. So you take things to extremes. They should have a season, more races when around the world. Yeah, but they've had places around the world to have it. 23 races a season. I mean, it's already packed as it is. Right. And then literally go to every single destination. I only go to Austria twice, but that's only because of what's happened with Canada and then with Turkey. So, I mean, back in these days, you only had about 12 Grand Prix. So, Chapman targeted an aggressive development of ground effects concept for the 1979 car. For the 1979 car, the Lotus 80. But rival constructors Ligier and Williams beat him by aligning the ground effects to more and more rigid chassis design and structure. Lotus won nothing in '79, but also ground effects continued to dominate, and the gigantic cornering speeds they created saw lap times tumble. Allen's pole position time for the Grand Prix at Silverstone was only a 111.8880, 236.2, 236.324 kph, or 146.845 miles an hour. It was 6.16. It was 6.61 seconds quicker than James Hunt's pole position of 2 years before. So by 1980, the escalating cornering speeds were becoming a real concern. It was the focal point of a furious dispute between the governing body, FISA, typically supported by the manufacturers, teams like Ferrari, Renault, Alfa Romeo, and constructors, and the Constructors Association, FOCA, led by Bernie Ecclestone, the team boss, who's at the time team boss for Brabham. And what happened was simply that the FISA wanted to ban the ground effects because it became dangerously high cornering speeds that they've allowed, and that if one of the skirts broke, it could send the car off at massive speed with no warning for the driver. The Constructors Association, knowing the benefits and how much they're getting from the ground effects, resisted. Because its teams largely use Cosworth engines that are less powerful than those of a richer manufacturer, and more effective chassis design using ground effect, providing them a means to level the playing field. So it means it helps them compete with Ferrari in that. So, but a series of accidents escalating in severity put pressure on FISA president, or the FIA president, should I say, like Jean-Marie Balestra, to act. And in testing for the German Grand Prix, Alfa Romeo driver Patrick Depailler was killed when his car sped straight on at a high speed at the high speed Ost curve. His death was blamed in the part of the fact that the safety of fencing on the corner had not been erected, but the massive cornering speed of his ground effect car was a contributory factor, because obviously he was so much faster than what you would usually expect without it. The following season brought a controversial ban on skirts, but designers quickly found a gaping hole in the regulations. The undersides of the car only required to be flat when the car was in the pits. So Gordon Murray, who was a brilliant designer and worked for Brabham, was the first to cotton onto this and produce the ingenious solution for the Brabham, the BT49 Brabham, which automatically lowered the skirts while the car was on track. So with the advantage, Nelson Piquet destroyed the opposition in 19 Grand Prix. So the teams copied the system, and then all of a sudden they still got everything back. This is what they do. They look at the regulations, and what they do is they find loopholes. That's what they do. They find loopholes. Oh, sorry, Monday. Right, I didn't notice you there, man. How
It's
are
all right.
you?
I'm good. I'm just tuned in, getting education here. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah. Obviously, but 79 was kind of relevant to now, because next season we're going back towards ground effect for the cars to try and make them closer racing and more overtaking, from what I've understood from the regulations next season.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, how would you what do you think about having now ground effect? Because obviously they're going to be more strict with it, because obviously the dangers they saw back in the 80s. Do you feel that it's going to produce more exciting racing? Because it looks like it's going to be a question.
Well, there is an issue at the moment about overtaking, isn't there, and making exciting races. But I think we've kind of got a bit of balance at the moment with the overtaking. This season's so far has been pretty good. There's been quite a few. I don't know. I haven't seen the stats and numbers for overtakes, but they're always trying to increase popularity by making better viewing. We don't want a car going off into the distance and that kind of thing. I've noticed with don't get me wrong, I'm not an expert on F1, but I'm kind of new in the last 10 years to learning. And I'm learning a lot from what you're saying on the show today. But when you're behind a car this year, last couple of years have been a few complaints about being behind and the wear and tear, the degradation on the tires and that kind of thing, which makes it really difficult.
Yeah,
So I'm all for it. I don't know that you're going technical, going way over my head. I'm trying to take it in.
Well, basically what they've come out with is that the current cars they use in a minute, they lose up to about 50% of their downforce when front on a car behind, because there's the dirty air, which is basically a massive gaping hole in the airflow. So it doesn't get to the rear and front wings to produce the downforce they need. So they're losing. So you get to places like Spain, they can't overtake because they can't follow behind close enough.
Yeah.
Now, when they've done these tests on these new cars, they've found that they've lost 20% of their downforce, which means they could follow a lot more closer. Now, the idea is, if they can do that and be able to increase overtaking, the drag reduction system we have to help aid overtaking will basically become ineffective, because if you use it, people just quickly overtake. I mean, no defense. So the idea is then probably the long term is to remove that, so that way we have closer wheel-to-wheel racing, and it's more authentic as well.
Well, I don't know if you remember a couple of seasons ago. Who's a Brazilian guy? Ruben Barrichello. No, is it Ruben Barrichello? Ferrari.
Yeah.
He was. Do you remember that race when he went into the back of another car. Can't remember what rate. I don't know. Basically, what was happening? He was chasing, and he ended up going right into the back of another car, like horrific to look at. And he couldn't slow down. Yeah, he couldn't slow down for some reason. I think you have to be careful with this kind of thing because it might increase accidents. If you're saying it'd be better to overtake and then you'll be able to follow easier, you know, you've seen sometimes it's millimeters away when they're following like, around chicanes, and then it's like not even, you know, not even millimeters away from each other. So it's going to take skilled drivers to manage these sort of these different changes into the sport. You know, I think because especially to be more closer contact and closer racing, it's going to be very interesting. And I think obviously all these new additions to the sport take some time to balance out. We might realize it's a major issue because a lot of these drivers aren't conditioned for that, you know. So yeah, I'm all for it as long as it brings better racing and more fair racing, I'd say. Because
I mean, I think you got a very good point about how they look at this, and I think the one thing they can take from it with accidents, there might be increased number of accidents, obviously overtaking. And to be honest, we all like a bit of a shunt. We all like to see like a car go off into a wall or a massive or an accident. But obviously, we don't want to see people hurt, for example. But but I think the main thing is because they've got the safety of cars now with the amount of shock absorbers, the amount of how the actual cockpit is like a survival cell. So the car could, you saw in Grosjean's crash, the car could disintegrate like that, but the actual structural cockpit of the car where the driver sits is completely safe. It's not broken intact because he could put a 50 cal bullet through it and it probably wouldn't pierce it. So so they can take all those safety, and even then from that just report there, they took 20 improvements they found they could do to better the safety standards there. So that also chasing for safety as well as chasing for lap time, they can take note that even if they do have accidents, we've got cars that are probably safe enough to cope with that. And
makes
also
sense.
because also they've got now they know to be more strict with ground effect and how they use it. So that means they won't be getting teams to be really, really fast. I mean, even this season, the teams have already caught up on lap time, but they had to taper down the floor of the car because they were producing so much more rear downforce that the cornering speeds were causing safety problems with, I think, the tires. I think it was. So they just tapered. What they did is simple. It's just instead of a straight line, they just tapered it like that. So what the teams have done is then cut the two in two pieces to straighten it up. So then they can put devices on the either side to then get the airflow back. Because what happened is then the airflow goes straight to the tire, and then the tire squirts it into the diffuser, and you lose all your downforce. It's what they call tire squirting. So what
I'm learning.
I know. So what do you do?
I'm not. Yeah, it takes a while.
I love it. And then you're just watching simple. Just if you go on F1, they do like TED Talk and all this. They show you this, and what they do is basic. What it does now is that between the tire and the chassis, you've got the suspension. Obviously, they want to put it through that gap. They put it through that gap. They get the downforce that they need. So it's all about controlling airflow.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this. It's like education for me.
Yeah, I mean, even I learn whilst I follow it. It's just so intriguing about how they get around the rules, and you can see here they're trying to find a way around the rules, and it took because they didn't know exactly how to use ground effect. I think the FIA then that's when they said, right, you're not having it anymore because it's getting too dangerous, and that's probably. But now, obviously, we now know so much more about the cars and how safe they are, and as well as that, they can now look at this and say, yeah, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, but you're not having it. No, you're not having it all your own way. So
it's all regulated now. It's going to be
so that's why like this is why it's called perfect formula, because you build an F1 car around the regulations that are there at the time, and also try and find the loopholes around the regulations.
Yeah.
So say like with Red Bull on Brawn, it was the blown double diffuser.
Yeah.
It was active suspension for Williams. It was the new power unit for Mercedes. It's all these.
What was it with the Benetton? What did they do? The Benetton car with Button and was it Button who drove the Benetton car when he won his world championship?
Brawn, yeah.
Brawn. So yeah, they had a clear advantage.
They had a very aggressive interpretation of the rules to the double diffuser, and then everyone was like, "Oh, you can't do that." And you can. And it made them about 2 seconds quicker than everyone else. But unfortunately, didn't. The reason they get caught up is because they didn't have the money to spend on development like Red Bull had. So, but then obviously Red Bull took that further, and then obviously we have what we have now, which is where Mercedes looked at the power unit and thought, we've got an idea here. We'll take the compressor, separate it, move it forward, leave the turbo the turbine where it is on the turbo, connect it with a shaft, and see what happens. And because it made all the air cooler, they had less turbo lag. It could put the gearbox under, so everything's cooler, so it's all in one area.
But Steve,
I did the episode 2's about it, and it's so intriguing.
But Stephen, aren't they supposed to make this transparent so all teams can see what they put in place?
No,
are they not?
That's why they keep it secret. It went into the FIA. I think it was tested in 2019. They said like you can't have boards to cover the garage up now. You can't have boards to cover the what you're developing, because they don't want to know the teams if they got an advantage. They don't want the teams to know.
Not say the other teams, but they have to present their car.
What happens is if they see something like Mercedes, what they had last season with the DAS system, and the other teams pick it up, and then they put a protest in to say, "Oh, we don't think that's in keeping the regulation." Then they have to produce the evidence. They have to produce the evidence they've got.
But initially, don't they have to produce the evidence to the FIA to say, "Here's our car. Here's every little technical."
No,
they don't have to.
They don't.
Only on appeal.
They don't have to, because it's only if like a team has said, well, that's not in the regulations, or the FIA have picked something on, like they've picked something up in terms of the wings. They're flexing a lot, and to make them, and they're supposed to be structurally sound, so they're now producing more cameras to make sure that the teams aren't flexing the wings and making them move. So so it's down to the fact that where the FIA can either find out what they're doing, or the teams protest and say that's not in keeping regulations. So
clearly, if a team is doing something illegal, they will get punishment for it at the end of the season.
They'll get more. I'm not sure. No, I think what would happen is they get a fine. I think the last time it was the Mercedes last season, the pink Mercedes, or the Racing Point as they called them. They basically copied this Mercedes from the year before. And what happens on the outside, you can do that because you can take photos up here and copy the design, can't you? Just draw around it. Now, they copied also the braking system, the brake ducts underneath the car. Now, unless you have information, even though they said it was bought information by Mercedes, right? You in the rules, if you get information about a certain development from another team, you can't do that. It's against the regulations. So they were given a fine and told to fix up their brake ducts. So they, it depends how severe they break the rules. So
it's like
a fine and told to
it's like diving into a rabbit hole.
It's like the teams being evil. It's like the teams being like, "Ooh, I wonder what you can do here."
Wow.
But it's all,
I like to soak up all this information. I might not get it, but like when I'm watching the show, an F1 weekend, I will try and take in as much as I can to sort of understand more, because I don't like claiming like, oh yeah, that's good, that's racing, but there's so much depth to it. And like even just talking to you, Stephen, I'm really like, wow. What?
I mean,
Yeah.
I've watched this since I started watching F1 when I was about 4 or 5 years old. So I used to be a massive Schumacher fan.
Oh yeah.
And I would watch the build up. I'd watch like
Yeah.
the different parts where they watched like the tech talk. I'd watch every single piece of it. I knew the drivers and their helmets and everything like that.
Yeah.
Because like it's when it becomes like a passion of yours, you want to follow every bit of it. I mean, like
That's
football
right.
to an extent. I mean, I'm not the greatest football expert in the world, right? But I know my fair bit about football, right? And if I don't know a fair bit about football, I'll jump in and tune in to learn something
Yeah.
about it. But F1 is literally, I think I know so much about it.
But the
what
thing
the
is,
teams
Steve,
go
I've
through is
been watching
unreal.
F1 since like Nelson Piquet won 83, didn't he? 83,
Yeah, and
84, yeah, from around those times. I've been watching it. I used to watch it with my dad, a few of my family members, you know. So I've always watched it, but I never realized how deep it was. You know, it's only now in recent years when they got Sky Sports doing fantastic. I mean, it used to be on ITV. They wouldn't really go that deep. You know, they talk about it, but some of the stuff will go over your head. You didn't have access to the internet to really sort of look and discover what's going on. But lately, with Sky Sports, they got a wicked, brilliant package, and you really get a lot of people there who speak so well, like yourself, and give you all the information. And that's what you just, soak it up. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that's the
But
thing.
please don't let me. I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn and discuss. So yeah, you got an agenda. You're talking about the Lotus and the cars. I was catching that earlier. But
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want to stop your flow. But I'm happy to whatever you want to
no,
do.
it's all right. It's all right. It's like I said, with Lotus is that after that it was sort of like Colin Chapman's last sort of innovation. I can't remember exactly when he died actually, because they weren't the same team after he passed away. Let's find that out. Designer, engineer.
Just one second, just
Yeah,
close.
1982. Yeah, it was his last piece of engineering before he died in 82, and the team weren't the same afterwards after they took over. But I mean, certainly innovations, like I said already, like integrating the chassis and the engine into integrated units to make it stronger and lighter. Because back then, like I said, they had the same engine. So what do you do? They didn't know anything about aerodynamics. So what do you do?
Yeah.
Make it lighter. So they made it lighter and lighter and lighter. And he just took things to extremes. He'd take it when he makes lighter, I mean, to the point of breaking it. And then once it broke, he broke and make it even lighter. So that's why you have all these sort of restrictions. And people say, well, why can't we just build why can't they build a car where there's no restrictions or whatever? Because this lot will take it to the absolute limits. Right? Because they're mad. And this is the whole point about it's and this whole story, this whole thing about finding the best car and the best time. If you didn't have the championship, that you had the drivers' championship in 1950, and the reason Mercedes didn't win the championship constructors until 2014 is because they pulled out of it before 1959, and 59 they brought the constructors' championship in, which is then what started this whole development war amongst teams and all this development from the cars. So if it weren't for the constructors' championship, we wouldn't probably have most of the developments we have now. So it'd just be whatever
What, Steve? What can they do then to? So when you get like on the grid, these teams don't even get past the first round of qualifying. How can they? How can you level the playing field? Is it because of their budgets that they don't have enough to invest? What is going on here? How can you make the sport? Like, I'm asking you for your opinion. How can you close the gap for these teams to make them?
What they've done so far is that the bottom teams, the further down the table you finish, the more time in a wind tunnel you will be able to have, which means more time to development. And the budget caps obviously means that everyone's has the same amount of budget. Mercedes already come out and said if they're going to be fighting for a championship and Bottas had an accident like he did in Imola, that's going to really hit him in the pocket in terms of maybe for next season. So that's why Haas have decided we're not developing this car. We're just focusing on next season. We put all our budget and resources to next season. So it's sort of thrown up this problem with teams that what do they choose? Do they choose development this year or do they wait for the new rules next year? And certain teams will go for it because obviously the further up your table you go, the more money you get in the constructors. But in the end, also you can also say the further down you go, the more development time you get. So
it's balanced. Good. It's balanced.
But
like
what it will because those teams will have more development and will be able to bring more parts to the car, which will then should lower and level more the playing field. Obviously, there's going to be some teams that might be about 3 or 4 tenths faster than each other, but they won't have the massive gap that we had with Mercedes for so long, and it would be more like what we had maybe with Red Bull or after Schumacher's domination and that. So they're all close together, so anyone could have a win or a podium.
So when you have so some teams have a parent team like Red Bull and Mercedes. Who's the Red Bull baby team that they have?
It was Toro Rosso, it's not AlphaTauri.
All right, so if AlphaTauri got more development time, can't they pass the information on to Red Bull, who are getting less? Is that
I'm not
behind
sure
the scenes, not unofficially?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one because again, like you can't really pass the information on if
unofficially
it's a separate team. Yeah, unofficially, yeah. By the way, mate, do this in the wind tunnel. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Here you go. Yeah. I don't think so. I think they'll keep this. I think it stays with within the team, but I think Red Bull do have a look at it at some point because it was Red Bull that put them in Honda engines in 2018 before they moved themselves to Honda. And I mean, there was the times I think before Adrian Newey got it right in 2009 and all those development and aerodynamic changes, Red Bull were around about top 10, like about 13th, 14th or something like around there in 2008. And sometimes even, they didn't even score a win in 2008, and yet Sebastian Vettel in the Toro Rosso won a Grand Prix.
Yeah,
so,
in the rain though. That was in the rain, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's the idea of it.
It wasn't down to the car; that was down to his skill as a driver.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Be like Senna in when he almost won in Monaco.
It's in the Tolman, yeah. And that's why I say is that you'll see now the more teams will have more of a chance to win. Depending on what circuit they're on, because different cars will shoot different circuits. Want to know what your favorite track is? I'll
do mine. Monza. Love that track. Love that track. Wow. I just Monza for me. I get overexcited. Yeah. And such a just sweet track. You know, I know every turn, know everything about that track. I just love it. I think Monza's like proper racing, and it's just
Curva Grande. Lesmos, Biscardi, Parabotta.
Wow.
That's there what you go. Old school. Old school.
It's just brilliant track. It just gives you that to me is like F1. When I'm watching a Monza, I know you can say like Monaco and all this kind of, but for me, Monza, I'm sitting there, got my food, and this is it. This is peak summertime. Let's go.
If I'm looking at any track, right, I could say Silverstone. I've seen Silverstone. I've been to Silverstone twice. I've seen 2019. I was sat in the Maggots and Beckett's grandstand watching that Grand Prix, and the cars are going insane going through those turns. You go through those first Maggots, you go flat out. Downshift one, then downshift, and you don't even brake. You just downshift, and the car will brake and slow down for you for Beckett's, and you don't even brake and carry all the speed around.
How noisy was it back then? In 2000, it was
2019 was not the Porsche Super Cup actually was more loud than the actual F1. It didn't need earphones.
Right? That bad.
And if you saw the edge of the track, the reason they almost you can hear it more now. You see microphones all the way around the circuit.
So they're trying to increase the sound.
Yeah, to try and increase the volumes.
Yeah.
But I remember, that was not that bad, the noise there. But 2012, I saw it in 2012, Luffield.
Okay.
Oh damn! Man, I was like that. We're trying to talk to each other, and I'm like, I can't talk.
Wow.
Once everyone went round, at the start of the race was fine, because once everyone went round, that's it. They all went a different part of the circuit. We don't have to worry about it until a minute and 30 later. So we have a quick conversation before they come back. Right, and then once it got to like obviously about until HRT was lapped in about 10 laps, like so crap. That was it. We were stuck and we couldn't talk to each other at all because we were going one after the other. So it was that one was really, really good. But my favorite in terms of driver, I wouldn't say actually is Monaco, because like how hard is it to overtake there? And though I loved like the prestige, the glory that you get there, and it's just every driver wants to win. For me though, I'd have to say Spa.
Oh my god! Oh yeah, Belgium, Spa. Brilliant. Yeah. I'll give you that. That's a good shout. Good shout. Can I change my opinion? No, good. Yeah.
Yeah, Blanchimont. Yeah. Pouon. Oh man, that circuit's nuts.
Beautiful setting as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd love to go to Belgium. I'd love to go to Belgium, watch that Grand Prix, just sit on the floor of the Rouge. Because you just sit on the floor and you imagine you're looking at the sky. How do you turn left?
Yeah, that's a good shout. Ask the guys what they think.
Yeah, guys in the chat, what would be your favorite circuit throughout history? I mean, apart from the Nordic Lever, because that's too dangerous. Right, I don't mind the new Nürburgring, the new circuit there. That's not bad. But yeah, for me, Spa's got to be mine. Mine's got to be Spa. Yeah. So
good question. Good question.
It is a good question. But like I said,
everyone's got different reasons for liking a track. Sorry, a crack. Sorry. Yeah. Everyone's got different reasons.
Track.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Anyway, we're gonna have to wrap up there because I was gonna start my FA Cup stream like about an hour early, so we can have a review of the FA Cup throughout this season.
What's your pick?
What?
What's your pick for the FA Cup?
I've got to go Leicester. I can't stand Chelsea winning. Okay. I'm sorry.
And what's your? Sorry, go on. No, go on.
No, go on.
I was gonna switch back to F1. Forget it's not a football show. So, what's your pick for? Two questions for you, bro. What's your pick for the 1, 2, 3 this season for the championship? And what's your pick for the most improved car for next year, based on the information you know about cars that are developing for next year? Who do you think is going to be up there or stepping up next season? So give me a 1, 2, 3, 4 this season, and your pick for next season, most improved car, a car that's going to be stepping up.
Hamilton wins the title. Verstappen second. Bottas will be third, I believe. Perez is just struggling at the minute. So I see them three for the top three. And then most developed car. It's rules are changing so much. It's hard to tell. But I mean, even Mercedes, James Allison says he's taking a step back. He's not. He's taking a step back to develop on next year's car. I'm not stupid. I know exactly what they're doing. So
I missed that. So I missed that. What do you mean by that?
James Allison, who's responsible for the design of the Mercedes, is saying he's taking a step back. Basically, what he's doing, he's developing next year's car. He's not. He's in the background developing the next year's car. So, but for me, I'd say McLaren could be up.
They've stepped up already this season, haven't they?
They've stepped up already, and I think they could step it up even further next season
and have a competitive car for the top. Front row of the grid.
Yeah. Especially if they're fighting Ferrari in a minute, because they're fighting Ferrari, I think, for third as well. So it's between them two. So and never rule out Ferrari with what they what they can do. So that'd be but Norris.
Thank you.
Norris
Thank
and
you.
McLaren though.
Interesting stuff. Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, like I said to you the other day, I love F1. I'm not as knowledgeable as you, but I just want to soak up all this information and get it, get it. And then speaking to you, obviously I can watch shows, but sometimes I'm busy. But speaking to you and getting more information like that, if you don't mind, I like asking questions.
Yeah, fine.
So yeah, I might be tapping into that knowledge head of yours quite often.
Cheers, thank you. Anyway, big up everyone who's watched as usual. Do hit that like button, do hit that share button, subscribe button. On Monday, where can I find you?
You can find me at you see me there on Monday, June 16. That'll be on Twitter. On Instagram, my name is Zacchius Forbes, ZACHIUSFORBES. Remember that, Stephen. You aired me. And on Facebook, I am Yabba Forbes, YABBA Forbes, FORBES. Everyone, big up Stephen and his show and everything he's doing. He's brilliant. And please subscribe and let's get these numbers up. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Big up everyone, and we'll be back literally in about 5 minutes when I start the FA Cup final.
Sorry, one more thing. The Man United agenda. Excuse me, how could I forget that? We're at the Man United agenda, FTB Sports Football. Sorry, boss.
Yeah, sorry, boss. Yeah, go and check that out because I was on there last night and their show's really, really good. They do really, really well on there. So, yeah, we'll be back in about 5 minutes with the FA Cup final. But until then, everyone stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
We're out.